can't wait to get you to the Gabba, Ash. Tell you what.
She's never done that.
Just like we want to get you to India. That'll be your last series.
Maybe. Are you a selector here as well?
The way you play, every ball will
At
go
least my
chocolate.
teammates like me.
A broken rib.
Tell me when you're done.
I can talk all day, mate. You wait till you get to the Gabba, pal.
Your bag, man.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of All About Sports, the podcast. Today we have with us my co-hosts, as always, Shubham and Mazhar. Also, we have a very special guest. We have Aditya on board for today's episode. And since Aditya is such a cricket buff, he does cricket analysis, he writes about cricket. So, I mean, what else do we talk about? We're here to talk about Test 3 of India's tour of Australia, which was an absolute banger. What a test match. Aditya, I'm going to throw it open to you. What do you think? What do you think was the best, most controversial moment of this test match? Because there were a few, right?
Yeah, there are plenty of controversial moments, but I think the underlying theme throughout this series, and I think throughout the summer in Australian cricket, has generally been the DRS. And I know it's probably a bit of a I'm not going for the obvious, Tim Payne sledging and, some of the banter of sledging that's been talked about so widely in the media. But I think generally it's the DRS, and we saw Tim Payne being fined 15% of his match fee.
Catch it! Be very confident. Okay, let that kick in. Yes. Yeah, we're flatline as the ball pass. Good.
Happy with the consistency he's saying.
What's the fucking difference? Or snicker. Ball, Gates.
Well, the difference is, you got to look for a sharp spike. You can't have a marginal movement on the snicker. I think it's hit the bat.
For using an expletive, but I think there's a larger conversation about umpire's call that needs to be had. There also needs to be a conversation about the various angles that Snicko can cover, because you take Tim Payne's expletive aside, I don't think anything he said was wrong. He said when the ball had nicked the bottom edge of Pujara's bat, why was the third umpire only looking at the top edge? And although his angle was blocked by Matthew Wade standing at a silly point, a short leg, but yeah, I think that to me was significant. And then obviously we go to Tim Payne sledging Ashwin and expressing his frustration for not being able to have three of the best quicks in the world get two injured batsmen out. So I think it was ludicrous more than anything.
Yeah. I mean, some people are going to call it Tim Payne sledging Ashwin. I'm going to go the other way around because Ashwin gave it right back. I absolutely love this. It's not new look in the sense that it hasn't been seen before, because we've been of this brash esque nature for the last few years.
Right.
But Ash is just so composed, gave nothing, gave absolutely no room, soaked it all in, and then absorbed the pressure till the last ball. Mazhar, what are your thoughts on that? Because historically Australia has been known to do this, and then you get under other people's skin. Do you think it was the other way around this time?
So firstly, I think credit where it's due to our boys. Firstly, they really turned up as men, I would say, in this over this test series. They've really stood out, and well, most of them are inexperienced, let's face it. And by inexperienced, I mean playing outside of the subcontinent. The way they performed, not only in this test, to come back after getting all out for 36, to then the way they turned the tables. Obviously, we lost our captain in Kohli and our best batsman. So to just absorb all of that, soak up all of that pressure that 1.3 billion people have on you, all their eyes are glued to you, because this is one series we hate to lose, even though we historically have always struggled, but we really stood up. But coming back to Ashwin's enter, what was great about it was, I mean, more than him giving it back, and I was watching the New Zealand experts talk about it. So it was Ian Smith, Mike Hesson, and I forgot who the third person was. But Mike Hesson basically said the Aussies missed a trick by sledging Ashwin, because he said, I've worked with Ashwin, and he's like, if there's one player you do not want to sledge, it's Ash, because if you get under his skin, he becomes a different demon altogether, and you don't want to mess with Ashwin. Some people just thrive under that, and in these such situations, and Ashwin's one of those. So
It's like trash talking to
very,
MJ,
very
right?
happy.
You don't want to trash talk MJ
Oh
because
yeah,
you know
well,
what's coming after
yeah,
that. It's the same equation with
You know-
some players.
I was thinking of one thing. Given how the last test panned out and how Tim Payne has been in the news, I'm just wondering the psychological impact it will have on the players going forward into the next match. Because obviously, Tim Payne has been all over social media. He has got a lot of slack for the way he behaved. He's had to come out and apologize. And obviously, in the last test, he also dropped a few catches. So I'm just thinking psychologically, from a player's standpoint, from Tim Payne's standpoint, there is pressure on him. There will be a lot of media scrutiny on him. So it'd be interesting to see how he performs the next test. Also, interestingly to see how India was very resilient in the last match, especially obviously Ashwin, Vihari. So I think that will also give India a lot of mental aggression going forward in the next test. And next test is massive because we are at Brisbane, a ground where Australia is. It's a fortress for Australia out there. So I just think like these small mini controversies that have happened, how it will shape up in the next test, I think that'll be very interesting.
Personally, I feel like this is India's best chance to breach the Gabba tour, and although I think we have 4 or 5 changes to make for the next test match.
yeah, pretty much.
think-
Yeah,
Yeah, I think we have 4 or
Vihari's
5.
gone, Jadeja's gone, Bumrah's gone.
Vihari, Bumrah, Jadeja, Ashwin also is
Yeah.
doubtful, I guess.
Ashwin's
Ashwin.
50-50.
Ashwin will pop painkillers and play. There's no way he's gonna miss this match. I'm telling you, there's no way he's gonna miss it
So the,
We do
unless
have
it's
some matches.
really that bad.
so the
Yeah,
doubtful
but I-
ones are Pant, Pujara,
The
and
onus is on the
Ashwin.
batsman, though. Yeah, but the onus will be on the batsman because I think Rohit Sharma, he's shown good form, but I think that 50 now needs to be 150 to make up for the lack of experience in the middle order, because you have with Vihari gone, I don't know who's going to replace him. Who's going to fit that number 5 slot. Typically, that's Ajinkya Rahane's role, but we'll have to see whether Rahane slips back to 4 or whether they bring in Shaw or Mayank Agarwal if he's fit again. But yeah, we'll have to see. But I think generally, India's in a good space psychologically, and even though Australia has stats in their favor, this is our best chance to make a record.
Yeah.
So Aditya,
Stats
2
are-
things.
Yeah.
So I have
Sorry.
2 questions for you. One is you mentioned inexperience. So when we talk about inexperience, our current bowlers who are fit, you have Mohammad Siraj, who I think he's just played 2 test matches. He's done well. Now both those test matches against Australia, he's picked up 7 wickets. You have Saini, who just played 1 test match, picked up 4 wickets. And then you have Kuldeep, who's played 6 test matches, picked up 24 wickets, but he's not played since 2017. Now, will Kuldeep play, not play? Again, there are questions. But in terms of our bowlers, and given the fact that the Gabba pitch is something which could favor the pacers, could favor the bowlers. So what do you think? Like, who should be India's bowlers going to the next test? Do you see a lack of experience or that could probably affect us?
It could, but I think it's dependent on Rahane's captaincy and Rohit Sharma's experience and guidance as well. But generally, the talk has been that the people who could replace Bumrah would be Natarajan or Shardul Thakur. Now, Natarajan, I think he's played only 8 or 9 games for Tamil Nadu, and Shardul Thakur has a better first-class record. Personally, just for the left-arm variation, and given that Natarajan is in a better space mentally, I think after all the success he's had at the IPL and then the T20 and one-day series against Australia, I think he's in a good space to be able to take that forward into this test match. Shardul Thakur, he has more experience at the first-class level, and he could make an impact. But I think just for the fact that Natarajan is a left-arm bowler, I think they should select him. As for Kuldeep Yadav is an option, but I think Washington Sundar is also an option. And I think we need the extra batsman at 7 or 8. So we'll have to see. But it's a question. It's a question
talking about needing
the
an extra batsman. I think we also covered this in our preview episode that we're not very sure about our middle order, right? Just a random trivia question. The last time India played Australia at the Gabba was in 2014. Who's your best bet amongst the Australians to have scored a half century? And I'm talking about middle order, or someone you're not expecting. Steve Smith, of course, did well, but Mitchell Starc and Mitchell Johnson both scored 50s, and this is something I think we've been continuously, impacted by, where they're tail enders, or basically people just blocking deliveries, playing out a lot of balls, tiring our team out, and we need those kind of characters, which is why what Aditya just mentioned about Washington Sundar could really have an impact on team selection, because, well, he definitely bats better than Kuldeep, that's for sure. How well his white ball experience can be translated into a test match, well, we'll know soon enough. And yeah, stats are really, I mean, also, I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's been since 1988 that Australia
88-89, they haven't lost on that.
So, yeah, it is. I mean, Aditya again, he did mention that it is our best bet to get a series win down under, but yeah, it's a difficult one. No wonder Tim Payne had that comment.
That's a massive challenge because based on stats and how Aditya mentioned also the stats are against us. They have won 40 out of 62 tests. They haven't lost since 88-89. Nathan Lyon out there has taken up 35 wickets. And since 2010, the last 10 matches that Australia have played and the visitors have played, Australian pacers have picked up 142 wickets as compared to 81 wickets that the visitors have picked up. So I just think, and the Australian attack is very good. Like in terms of their bowlers, they are amazing.
As proven by our 36-run capitulation in the first test, the bowlers are really fantastic.
36 was just a blip. Everyone has it. We've seen it happen in the Ashes on so many occasions between Australia and England. Both sides have completely just crumbled. So I just want to completely forget about that one, because we played so well in the test till that instance, right? And it was that one session where we just completely fell flat. So I don't want to be too critical. I was absolutely crushed when it happened, but well, the way, what I love about this team is they've got that fighting spirit, and we've seen that, and that winning culture is imbibed in the entire team, and they're not afraid to play. So even if, and I think this test was testament of this resilience and everything that this team stands for, and that is that we will not back down from any challenge. We are not afraid of you, no matter where we are playing. We've lost all our best pacers, but that just gives a chance for the next guy to step up. And honestly, I think that's the good thing about Test cricket now. The only good thing is that the quality of batting has probably dropped, because the batsmen aren't so conducive to leaving the ball. They want to chase at it, they want to tug at things, they'll want to defend, or just play the ball through the covers, and that cost them the wicket. That's why I thought Vihari and Ashwin just took us back to the classical days of leaving the ball outside the off stump. Just leave it, man. If you're trying to save a test, especially on a 5th-day wicket. So that's actually what I'm looking forward to.
We're talking mainly about aggression. Vihari and Ashwin, for 3 hours, over 40 overs, facing 256 deliveries, they managed to stand the ground. And Harsha Bhogle, he very well spoke about Ashwin, and he said that if Ashwin is even 60 to 70% fit, he's an asset in the team just because he's mentally very, very strong. So now, if we are to lose Ashwin, Aditya, what do you think? If we are supposed to lose Ashwin, how much of a blow it will be to India? And also given the fact that the Gabba wicket would be a good wicket for spinners, how much of a blow that would be for India? And if he goes out, then who comes in to take his place?
It would be massive. I think that would make Washington Sundar a definite starter in the team. But then we'd have to see whether we add an additional bowler, whether we have Shardul Thakur as well, because we all know that the Gabba is going to support an all-base attack, but it's also dangerous to go into a test with an all-base attack. So we need to have Washington Sundar in the team. But that said, I think Ashwin's loss would be massive because one is that he's obviously done well with the ball, but getting confidence with the bat will take his bowling to the next level. And not to mention, he's on his fourth tour to Australia. Experience counts. And in this sort of situation, I totally agree. Even if he's 70% fit, Ashwin should be playing.
I have one more question for you, Aditya. And now this brings me to Matthew Wade. I was really disgusted by his behavior in this test match for all his little antiques. And I'm not saying that I'm completely fine with the banter. I'm completely fine with the trash talking, with everything. But it was just so ugly. The moment when Ashwin defended the ball, he picks it up and he runs at him, making a very condescending sort of face. And not just that, then the throw at Vihari, which he apologized for. Of course, he had to apologize, but he hit him in his ribs. This is no way to behave. And like it happens with bowlers in their follow throughs, and that's the aggression on the spot. You're fielding at short leg. I mean, there's absolutely no excuse for his behavior over this test. Maybe it was because of the way he batted. So I think it's a confidence thing. So he was just trying to get into the heads of the players. But it was embarrassing. If I was an Australian fan at that point of time, I would be like, I don't want this guy to be there in my team because this is absolutely unacceptable. There was a time when so many Indians, and still, in fact, a lot of Indians don't like Virat Kohli, right? Because of that aggression. They find it too ugly and they don't like what that stands for because it doesn't actually suggest or portray the gentleman spirit of the game. So what's your take on that?
Look, I think all the banter that the Australians were engaging in, it was more a reflection of the pressure that they were feeling and the fact that they were basically slipping away in a game that they should have won. You think about the number of overs they batted. I think 131 overs. Prior to that, in 2012, South Africa batted 148 overs, I think, where Faf du Plessis made that historic 110. That massive that blockathon. And interestingly, Ashwin credited that innings as the inspiration for him to get through the day. So, and Matthew Wade was a wicketkeeper in that game. So I think he probably knew all too well what it means for India to get by with the draw and for Australia to not be able to get the last 5 wickets. Because you think about it, I mean, you have Hazelwood, Cummins, and Stark, who surprisingly, compared to other lineups in the world, are all fit. See, you look at Neil Wagner in New Zealand, he got injured, he had a fractured toe. India has lost all its frontline seamers. Sri Lanka lost some 7 or 8 players through the course of a series. It led to the coach saying that I might have to bat at number 4 or 5. And I covered that press conference. So, he was like, if we have any more players getting injured, the bowling coach and I are going to have to start batting up for this team. So I can sort of imagine, I can imagine what those players must have gone through, at least from a view's perspective. But I think it's also in their DNA. Look, we keep talking about Australia turning over a new leaf after Sandpaper Gate, and I think a part of that is in progress. We haven't seen anything terribly ugly from the Australians in the last 2 years. I think since Sandpaper Gate. This was probably the first instance where it was really highlighted the way that it was in the media. And I think somewhere it's in the DNA. I think it's how they've grown up playing club cricket and state cricket, where this sort of thing is perhaps encouraged a little bit. And I don't know, I think it's a reflection of cricket culture in Australia, because it's not only the players, it's also the crowd. I don't think in one of the reviews post Sandpaper Gate, Steve Smith said that on that after a game that Australia had lost to South Africa pretty badly in 2016, James Sutherland, who was the CEO of the time at Cricket Australia, he said, we pay you guys to win, not to lose. And so I think sometimes perhaps that's a reflection of the pressure that players are under. With that said, there's obviously no excuse. I think Matthew Wade or Tim Payne or any of these guys, I think even Labuschagne for that matter, it's quite stupid to ask Rohit Sharma what he was doing in quarantine. I mean, are you really like that starved for conversation? Do you really need to have this sort of conversation? And Rohit Sharma, I think he must have laughed, after he got back to the dressing room.
Just the way he is, he's probably laughed it off. But one interesting point you made is that it possibly could be a reflection of how Matthew Wade was feeling about the game slipping away, and a game which India had not too much of a chance of winning. So now, one thing which has been highlighted over the last few days is and this is kind of a very amateurish conversation, I believe, but I think it's best we highlighted that why were we playing for a draw, or were we playing for a draw or a win, or was it just survival? So I had absolutely no qualms about the way Ashwin and Vihari went about the last whole day, because to draw that test would mean a chance at winning. But suppose you go for those shots when you really can't, you end up getting out, you lose the test, and then the stakes are not as high for Australia in the next test, because the best India can do is draw the series, as opposed to where we are standing now. Australia best win this match, or they need to be firing as much as they can, because losing the fourth test is unacceptable, right? You pointed out what the culture is just like in Cricket Australia. So do you think there are any qualms about how Ashwin and Vihari went about? You perfectly okay with them playing for a draw? What are your thoughts on that?
I think the team strategy changed once Rishabh Pant got out. I think up until the point that I think even when Rohit Sharma and Shubman Gill came out, they were playing reasonably conservatively, but by no means were they playing for a draw. I think they were pretty positive in their approach. But I think once Shubman Gill and Rohit Sharma got out, then it was up to Pujara, Rahane, and Pant to actually determine where they take the game. And I think up until the point that Pant was batting, it looked as if they were going for a win. And a win looked.
It was on the cards.
It looked possible. Yeah, it was possible. But then I think once Pant got out, then it became a bit difficult. And then the next best option would have been to save the game. But there are no regrets there, because ultimately you have to play. You have the resources that you have. You can't do much about that. So fair enough. I think we're in a good position. It's much better than a loss. And if anything, this draw has shown that, we're a resilient team and we're not a one-dimensional team. How often has Australia really pulled out a draw? Think about Australia's record. They're either all or nothing. It's a go big or go home scenario with them. I think in recent history, I've probably seen them play one game out for a draw. But I think this is testament to the resilience of our team, and we should be very proud that two injured players, one with a massive back injury and one with a hamstring injury, were able to play out. Stark, Hazelwood's Cummins, and Lyon. So
Lyon.
No regrets there.
Shubham, just wanted to bring you in. Yeah. That's true. So Lyon's going to be playing his 100th test, so joining an elite club of 12 other players to have done it in Australian cricket. But I need to come back to the third test here. And Shubham, this question's for you because I know you are itching to talk about it. Steve Smith and the pitch and just destroying Pant's marks. So what's your take on that?
I just feel like how Aditya mentioned. I think it's just in their blood. It's in their culture. They till the time they don't do stupid things, I don't think they're satisfied. They have to do something. And I also feel, like I think Australia must have realized that the game is sort of slipping away, and maybe that led them to behave a little erratically, perhaps. So yeah, I feel like a lot of things that happened, let it be Steve, even Tim Payne and stuff. Like the podcast started also with the fact that how these guys are going to psychologically perform in the next game, because all of this will be there in the back of their mind. They know that certain things that they've done, it's been caught on cameras, it's been caught on the mics. So it'll be fun to see what happens in the next game.
And since we're on the topic, every time we have a guest on, we have some or the other thing to predict. So I'm not gonna let this episode end without a prediction for the fourth test. Test matches much more difficult to predict than any white ball game, but all of y'all can have a go. Aditya first, since you're a guest, and also probably the most learned opinion out of the four of us.
100%. More learned than all of us combined. More learned than
Three
all
of
of
us
us
combined,
combined.
yeah.
But Aditya, before you give your prediction, perhaps if you can mention like 2-3 challenges also that's there for India in the next test. How do you see us overcoming those? If there's any strategy that you could think of, and then after that your prediction.
I think we have challenges in all three departments, but to me, I think the onus is on the batsman to make sure that there are runs on the board, and I think all the experienced guys have to put their hands up. Gill is not experienced. I'm sorry, Rohit Sharma, Pujara, and Rahane. I think these three guys, they really have to score big for the team to have any chance. And because the bowlers are going to need a little bit of leeway. I think we're bringing Natarajan or Shardul Thakur in. We can't expect them to be bowling like Bumrah or Shami. So they're going to need a little bit of leeway there, which means that they need runs on the board. With that said, I think getting our selection right is very important. We don't know if Saha is going to be the keeper because Pant, sure, he played a brilliant innings in the last test, but we also can't forget that he dropped a number of catches as well. And if there's ever a knock on him, as Ricky Ponting said, it's always going to be his keeping. So I think we need to get that balance right. We don't know how the pitch is going to play. I think the Gabba, the last time a day test match was played at the Gabba, it was a pretty dead wicket. And part of the reason is because the soil in that wicket hasn't really changed in the last 20 odd years. So I think this time around, the curators has been able to change that. I still don't know the science around it, but that has happened. My prediction is, I think India have it. Sometimes when you're pushed against the wall, and you really have to think out of the box, as we've been challenged to do this time, I think we'll pull something special out, and it's going to be a series win for us.
The one I consider next most learned opinion on this podcast about cricket, Mazhar. You have a go now.
God. No, so I think Aditya hit the nail on the head with this. I'm just going to say two things so I don't look at the pitch and all because I don't understand it. I just go by what they say. So I listen to the pitch report. Okay, it's a bowling wicket. But the point is, I'm a bit worried for the Australians because it might rain as well. So they will be going all guns blazing because they know they have to win the test to regain the Border-Gavaskar trophy. Otherwise, it stays with us. So I think that's the worrying sign. So I don't know what rain is going to do and how that's going to affect the entire game, because rain's expected for 2-3 days. I don't know how long and all of that, but yeah. So if rain mars the contest, then I'm more than happy, to be honest. But I also think we need luck on our side. I feel like I'm with Aditya. If we win the toss, for sure, I would have to say that we will pull the result through either a draw or the victory, for sure.
All right, Malu, your turn.
The person with the least cricketing knowledge. So my prediction is going to be, I think Aditya and Mazhar love the positivity. I hope the Indian team sees this podcast and hopefully it benefits them and they pull out a win. But I think it's going to be a draw.
Reasonable.
Draw is fine, Shubham. Draw is fine, Shubham. As long as we retain the series, it's fine.
I'm just going to throw in my 2 cents because why not? Since we're all having a go, I I don't think that this Indian side is going to let Australia get the win in such a crucial moment, unless something goes drastically wrong. So, like Mazhar mentioned, if rain has a big big say in this game, uh, let's be honest, it could either lead to a draw, it could lead to a bad session after, before, during. So, so unless something is drastically out of shape for the Indian team, I don't see us letting the series go down as a 2-1 loss. So fingers crossed. And I think with that, we've had a lovely time chatting with our guest Aditya. Aditya, hope to see you again with your lovely analysis on so many cricket games, matches, series. Um, for everyone who has tuned in, thank you so much for listening. We'll catch you on the next episode of All About Sports, the podcast. Until next time, thank you.